Just in general, I believe Georgia Calls is a very vital program for anyone who's in an unfortunate situation, who's trying to better themselves, who's serious about getting ahead in life and improving themselves generally. The personal development and the opportunities for spiritual development that it offers is phenomenal, in my opinion. I never even fathomed an opportunity like this would come in life, so I feel very privileged to be able to take advantage of it. What I like most about Georgia Calls is, I would say, the JLS class, the opportunity to develop myself personally. Because like I said, I think many things are encompassed in that class. The spiritual growth has insinuations in that. My career goals can be implied in it, and there can be some things that I can apply to every area of my life with regard to my professional pursuits, my academic pursuits, and what have you. So I think that every good thing about Georgia Calls, including the call center, is contained within the JLS class, because I learned skills in the JLS class that I'll go and apply on the phones as well. So that works very well. What I like least is the fact that we have to leave every day. I actually suggested that if possible, it would be wonderful if we could start our own transitional center so that we can perpetuate this wonderful, conducive environment and incubate these skills and these wonderful qualities that are being developed in us all the time. It's very difficult to have to come from such a positive environment and learn such wonderful things and be so motivated and have to go back to an environment that is not only inconducive to it, but also antagonistic. It's very demoralizing to have to go back to an environment that has no respect for what you're trying to do and actually takes measures to obstruct what we're trying to do with regard to our growth and the steps that we take to improve ourselves. So that's very unpleasant. I mentioned last time the incident that occurred with regard to my applying for the home pass and not being able to go home. It made me angry because I was told that I'd be able to go home, but I wasn't able to. But after having gone through the class that was entitled Expectations, I realized that the only reason I was angry is because I was expecting to go home. I had an unrealistic expectation because it was out of my control. So it was unreasonable for me to expect to go home as I did. So after reflecting on that lesson and recalling it to my mind and applying it to that moment, I was able to allay my anger, take on a more positive attitude, and simply apply again. And although that was inconsequential in the moment, if I had not applied that lesson, it probably could have turned into a disaster. Just slightly afterward, I found myself in a conversation on the topic of my future career goals. And I was explaining to a friend my visions of a grand industrial empire and astronomical personal wealth. And after going through my spiel, he asked me a very powerful question, in my opinion. He asked me, why do you want to be so successful? Why are you pursuing such grandiose schemes? And I had to think about that, because about a year ago, I probably would have quickly given him an answer that would have consisted of the received wisdom, well, the middle class is shrinking, and there will one day come a time when either you'll be super rich or super poor, and I want to be on the right side. But I realized that that's a very immature way to look at things. So I was honest with him. I told him, well, I don't know why I want to be so successful. And after that, I was unsatisfied with that answer. And I went back to my sleeping area and I thought about that more. And I really couldn't find an answer immediately. And I said to myself, why would I want to be so successful? What is the point of being so successful and having such control over a large enterprise? And I refer back to my JLS lessons, honestly, and I tried to find the answer in those. And I came upon one lesson. I forgot the title of it, but it had to do with getting over yourself. And I think that those words were in the title, get over yourself. And just reading that title, not even going through the lesson, reminded me that That's the answer. It's not about me. I mean, being successful is great, and being able to sustain yourself economically and attain a high standard of living is wonderful. But we live in a world that consists of over 7 billion people. We don't live within a vacuum. We live in relation to others around us. So everything we do makes sense with regard to how it affects others. So if I were to attain the success that I aspire to, it would be to help others, simply. And of course, I can go into a longer spiel about it, but to put it simply, to be so successful, to have control over a very massive amount of wealth, and to have control over an industrial enterprise and a philanthropy, would be to enable myself to leave a legacy to the world that would benefit others around me. I think the classes have changed my worldview in that particular respect. My worldview before was centered on myself. I was the center of my world. But after having gone through these classes and being introduced to the lessons, get over yourself, and the true definition of success, and a multitude of others, having to do with focusing on others, helping others, paying attention to how others affect you, being careful about how you perceive the behavior and the seeming perceptions of others. And my worldview now, as a result of that, consists more of others around me, how they affect me, how I relate to them. And I think that's a more realistic view. What I've learned at the call center is, one, pertaining to myself, I've learned that I have an awesome capacity for focus. My job mainly consists of taking as many calls as possible while maintaining a high rate of quality. So in order to do that, I really have to focus on my call. While I'm on the call, I have to focus on what the caller is saying. I have to focus on what is contained on the screen, which would be telling me what to do with the call. I have to focus on the time that I'm taking to finish the call. And when I complete the call, I have to focus on the next call so that someone else doesn't steal it from me. So after having gone through those trials for so long, I found that I have an awesome capacity to just focus on one thing, just single-mindedly, just, I don't even know how to describe it, just, I want to say just zone out and really just focus on that next call to the point where I can actually see it coming and press the button before it comes. And voila, there you have it. I'm on the next call, and I'm still focusing. So I know that would better enable me to be successful later on in life. Because if I can focus on a call, which is such a small and mundane task, then I can focus on my goals. Also, I learn a lot about people. When I go to college, I plan to study mass psychology because I know that is an integral element of mega business. But I never realized the most important implication of mass psychology, and that is, although we are very different as individuals, there are many commonalities between all humans. Throughout any given day, I may take, say, 250 calls. Well, 100 of those calls will sound exactly the same. There'll be 100 different people, but it'll sound like the same person. So I find that very intriguing, how we all are very unique. Well, there are certain base qualities that we all share. And I also think that's something that I can use later on in my climb to success. Georgia Calls to me is a new lease on life, an opportunity to focus on the future, forget about your past, focus on what you have now, focus on your good qualities, and play to your strengths, emphasize them, find out what you want to do, and achieve it. When I first arrived at Georgia Calls was described to me as our bridge, and I think that's a wonderful description. You are your starting point, but you have to use your own mind, your own intelligence, and your own ambition to find out where you want to go. And once you find out where you want to go, then you can view Georgia Calls as your bridge to help you get there. In my estimation, what makes Georgia Calls different is that it's a people growth company. You can go to Georgia Calls or Voice Nation, and you can rest assured that as long as you're willing to improve yourself and dedicate yourself to doing well at your job, they're not going to criticize you too harshly. They're not going to be too hard on you. They're going to allow you to fail forward and develop a plethora of skills that you can apply throughout life, and you're going to leave Georgia Calls or Voice Nation a better person, a better individual, a better worker, and all around complete. Georgia Calls is not just a job, it's a commitment.